Oh, I always had to burp right before.
Hi,
Hi,
we are A Thousand Eyes and One back again with Wine on an Empty Stomach. I'm Tanya.
and I'm Nikki, and thank you for joining us. I know we've had to postpone this stream many, many times, but now we're back.
We're back, and
We're back.
it was not an easy time, believe me.
No,
We're really glad to be back and to finally get to talk about this wonderful, wonderful book, The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which
our
is
fave.
has yes, absolutely like a very quick fave of ours.
Yes, Lady Nora is Bay. We're very excited to talk about anything that she writes about.
Who do we have with us? I can't see. Oh, where do we even begin with this book?
Um, okay, let's start. I you know what? Okay, my thoughts about this book is that if you don't live in New York, I don't know that it's going to have the same impact as like somebody reading it who has no idea. So I think the like my familiar oh my god
Familiarity.
familiarity with the city really lent a, like an additional character to this book, and it made it just easy to relate to
Should we
in
do a
a way.
very super quick 5 second synopsis?
Sure.
You want me to do it? Or you want to do it?
Well, I guess I could try.
Try.
Basically, this New York is a city that's born and it's got an avatar. And because it's such a large city, it's got multiple avatars, and each borough is represented by an individual who kind of embodies the spirit of that borough. So you've got the New York City, like main avatar, and then you've got the Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan. And this book is about, the adventure of these people trying to defend the city from an alien force from an alternate dimension. Yeah.
Like what's better than that alternate dimension
Yeah.
that is based on H.P. Lovecraft.
Hmm.
So if you
Tentacles abound.
yeah, so if you are familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, you'll pick up on a lot of stuff um, that she drew on. But I feel like Nikki said, living in New York and you're reading about places that you've been to and all that makes the story that much more exciting. In fact,
Hmm.
in the beginning when Manhattan is fighting on the FDR and causing all that traffic, I was
Yes.
listening to the audiobook and I was actually driving to the FDR. And then I was like, and I thought to myself, oh crap, why did I go to the FDR? There's traffic. And then I was like, oh wait, no, that wasn't real. That was I was like, oh no, that was in the book. My bad.
Oh yeah, moments like that are absolutely frightening. Like I cross the Williamsburg Bridge every time I have to go into the city. So reading a book where it's like the Williamsburg Bridge has collapsed or just been destroyed by an invisible monster is just frightening because I can see it from my rooftop and I'll go out there. I'm like, oh my god! Oh wait, no, it's still there. Oh,
Yes, I could see if it would feel kind of alien before and after if you've never been here. I thought that she did a really great job too with who she chose to represent each borough,
mm-hmm.
especially like Manhattan, a grad student who's completely forgotten his identity.
Oh my god, yes. I think what
Or his previous identity, I should say.
Yeah, it's like as soon as he entered the tunnel coming into Penn Station, and
Yeah.
I just took that same ride. It's just like, oh my God. Imagine like coming in and not knowing who you are, why, or even like why you're there.
Hmm.
That's such a scary thing.
And I've been a new grad student to New York, moving in, meeting a roommate, and I mean, obviously, I did not completely forget my identity, but it took me about 14 years living here before I'm finally. I think it took me having kids here to start feeling like a New Yorker.
Mm,
But
yeah.
so we have the grad student from who knows where, who's now the avatar of Manhattan. We
Hmm.
have uh
Manny.
Yeah, Manny, who's apparently racially ambiguous. Nobody can ever figure out what he is. He said he's black, but everyone always is like, I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Bronx, I thought it was really cool. Do you pronounce that Lenape,
I
the
think
tribe?
so. I think so.
That was the original tribe that was in the Bronx. So they have a middle-aged Lenape lesbian woman as the Bronx
Hmm.
Bronca. She's like super
Yes.
tough with her steel-toed boots. Absolutely loved her. Absolutely
Yes.
loved her.
Hmm.
Um,
Then we got the
Stat-
PhD student
yes,
for in Queens.
in Queens, and she's an immigrant, which Queens obviously is filled with immigrant families.
Hmm.
She was Indian, right?
Yep. Yep. So the South Asian, they didn't specify.
Oh,
Padmini.
okay, Padmini.
Padmini. Yeah.
I think the name made me think Indian, but yeah. Um, what's that? Queens,
Hmm.
Brooklyn. We have former rapper
Hmm.
who's now a councilwoman. And
The
did you
brownstone
know?
with
Did with
two
a brown two
brownstones.
brownstones? Yep. And did you know that the rap that she does in the book to defend her home was written by Jean Grey?
I was just listening to Jean Grey yesterday.
Yeah, Jean Grey helped. So I thought that was really cool too, because I'm a Jean Grey fan.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Jean Grey. I didn't realize that.
yeah, yeah.
Super
Um,
dope.
and then we have Staten Island. We're not going to talk shit,
Mm.
but we have Staten Island, Irish American,
Mm.
daughter of a cop, sheltered and a bit racist.
Just a touch.
Doesn't really feel part of New York, but
Hmm.
just is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that character actually because it
Yeah.
was just like there's so much tension within her and like
Yes.
there's like a desire for her to get out and to learn more and to trust her gut and to follow her instincts and to go meet the city that she's a part of and then just being held back by her dad and his views.
And not
Um,
just that, her dad and his views, and then this alien city in her ear,
mhm.
telling her all the things, that
Reaffirming all the things that her
reaffirm.
dad has been telling her about why
Yep,
it's dangerous to leave the city and all these
exactly.
people. Oh man, yeah, she was I really, as frustrated as I was with Iceland with
Iceland,
her,
Iceland.
that I did enjoy that character.
Yeah, I enjoyed her a lot. I think Bronco was my favorite. Um, I liked how tough she was, and um, I also liked how she called out Brooklyn
Mm,
for her past raps about being, and then Brooklyn was like, I've apologized for that. Like, what more do you want me to do? But I like that Bronco was very confrontational and
mm-hmm.
so defensive of
I
of the city.
yeah, I think that's like, yeah, she's the OG. She's the OG. I also really liked, like for me it felt like she was like the second main character, right? There was
Bronco,
like Manny, and then you just got so much insight to Bronca and her world
yeah.
and what she was doing. I felt like she was in some ways more of a developed character than Manny was with his elusive memories and stuff.
Definitely. You're talking about Iceland. I didn't like her, but did expect her. Oh yeah, Iceland. Didn't
Mhm.
expect her to join the others and break away from all the negative influences, but she just accepted it all. Yeah, I started thinking that she, especially when her mother was telling her about her past and the things that she had never told her before. Which, if you haven't read it yet, I won't spoil it. But um, after the conversation with her mother, I really did think she would go and join the others.
I thought she would. Your mom was like, I was waiting to see if you made it on the bus this time, or if you made it
Yeah.
on the ferry this time. And she just never did. She just never did. And I don't know. I have friends who live in Staten Island, and once they go there, it's like you almost can never reclaim them. They suddenly become a little bit more conservative, we'll say.
Manny's roommate. Oh yeah. Um,
Belle.
he was really cool too. But he really, really did was like just kind of accepted the situation. And I thought it was interesting how Manny's able to kind of like tap into people and make them a part of it
Hmm.
without them even really becoming a part of it. But because it was his roommate and also the taxi driver.
Madison, yeah.
Madison, of
You're like,
course,
look at these
Madison.
people, like these people who are like on the fringe and still able to like tap into the spirit of the city. Um, in really interesting ways, because you thought you at first you're thinking that the only people that are going to see it's like, well, this is a book about the city and you know that there's like magic and magical things happening, but you
Hmm.
don't really expect other people to peripheral, like who are on the peripheral, to be touched by that same ability to see. And I really
Hmm.
like that it wasn't
That was
isolated
almost,
to just that group.
yeah, it was almost like it was Manny's superpower in a way,
Hmm.
was to kind of tap people and get what he needs from them and give them just enough for them to be a part of it and to help, but not necessarily, you know, actually be a part of it.
Hmm.
This was the Jersey City. That was plot twist I was not
I
expecting.
didn't expect it either. I didn't
But
expect it
I thought
either.
it was cool though. I thought it was cool. We should probably go back a little bit, starting with just New York. And so that, this was originally a short story, A
Hmm.
City Born Great. And in the short story, you only meet New York and Paolo. Um, Paolo I found really interesting too. I liked
Yeah.
Paolo a lot. Paolo and I loved Hong Kong.
Yeah, me too. When he was introduced, you're like, oh, here's an old soul who
He was
knows
so
exactly
sick of
how
his
the game
shit.
works, and he was just like, oh my god, can you guys just get your shit together?
Yeah, I loved how he was just like sick of this shit. And um and for example, the way when Paolo gets injured by Staten Island when he's bringing him back by blowing cigarette smoke in his face. And just kind of like rolling his eyes at the group like you guys don't know anything. It's like
Hmm.
we're a newborn city.
Brand newborn.
What what did you think of that the part where they're trying where they're driving down like the local streets and like the Starbucks start to come alive?
Oh my god, yes. That was, I mean, I feel like a tongue, like something that else that's happening is like gentrification, right? Like as a theme,
Hmm.
like a subtle theme, and just see like, kind of the evil corporations coming to be the things that are attacking them as they're going down the street. That whole chase, I wanted more, I think, because I really enjoyed them driving through Manhattan, trying to like getting attacked by the Starbucks and like just seeing the shadows and the tendrils and everything coming after them. But I kind of wanted, I don't know. I think maybe I wanted more action,
Mm.
and I don't even think I realized it until just now, because the FDR battle, the battle for FDR, Valley for Springfield, was just so packed with all these little delicious morsels, and I think that maybe I wanted more. And I didn't know that until just now.
We have another comment. Gave me flashbacks of Stephen King's It and the Paul Bunyan statue.
Oh, I never read it.
I didn't read it. I saw the movies. I saw the new
Yeah,
movies.
I saw the first new one.
They almost sent me into the first one almost sent me into labor. I scare easily. I kept having contractions the whole movie, and then my friend who I went to see it with ended up sleeping over just in case.
That's so funny.
um, yeah, the FDR battle. Also, so in the just in the opening, when New York, as a whole, New York, when he goes to the library and sees those cops, and then
Hmm.
they merge into that blob cop with all the limbs and eyes and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, that should have been the first sign to me that this story wasn't going where I thought it was, because because I really I read the short story and I just really didn't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't really know. I went into it without expectations, I should say, of
Yeah.
where she'd go with it. It's different from the other things she's written that
Hmm.
I've read because it's all like a real place.
Right. She talks about how much research she had to do to get everything like really accurate. And
Mhm.
there's just something. I think somebody called it like an urban fairy tale, but it's just the prologue, which was the short story. has all of these like New York elements. Like it's got graffiti, it's got a city that wants to breathe, it's got a city like you get all the best. I feel like she does a really good job of capturing like all the nitty gritty and like the awesome things and horrible things about New York, um, in a way that you're not expecting at all. He's like, oh, I'm spray painting throats without mouths, and like I can hear the city exhaling. And if you've been here for any amount of time, it's like you go outside and like the city does have a vibe. It's got a rhythm. It's got an energy. And so for her to be able to kind of like pick up on those things and nail them down in writing was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a book that's for everyone, even people who've not been to New York. It's still
Hmm.
for everyone, but she knew people in New York are going to read it and they're going
Yeah.
to nitpick. So the characterizations of the different boroughs
Hmm.
and also just the things they encounter and the themes like the burger place disappearing and this one corporation
Right.
buying up all these businesses and
What was it
homes
called?
and
For
everything.
a better New York? Was that the name of the?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so ominous. It's so
So
ominous.
loaded.
Yeah, it's very like "Make America Great Again" vibes, you
Hmm.
know. And so, even if you're not here, I think the story really is for everyone. But if you are here, it just kind of hits in a different way,
Hmm.
especially if you live somewhere and you see um, the developments going up, the places that you walk on 125th right now. So many
Hmm.
places have closed, and now there's like it's almost strip mall like.
Yeah. It's like you leave here and you see like everything you see in another part of the country. Exactly the same stores, like in the same order
I
anywhere
th-
you
I
go.
thought it was interesting that Manny moved here and went to what was it, Washington Heights or Inwood?
Who's in Enwood?
Because he was going to Columbia, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, that's why. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because usually, you know, I was you don't get, and I feel like in New York stories you don't always get uptown stories.
Yeah, I think that was really cool about it. It's like a place that you see like on the A train line that this is the last stop. It goes all the way to Inwood, and that's
Yeah,
about all you get. It, but you're never seeing stories that are told
yeah,
in this neighborhood. Well, unless you count what you call it that just came out in the Heights.
right. But yeah, but when you hear like New York stories, like I mean, a lot of people don't even realize that Harlem is part of Manhattan.
Hmm.
You know, so um I just thought that was interesting. But there are a ton of grad students up there now going to Columbia,
Hmm.
and it's cheaper, and that's why people have started going there instead. And for Brooklyn, I was glad that they used someone from Brooklyn,
Hmm.
who's been there for generations. Um, I feel like a lot of people think of Brooklyn and Queens as like real New York.
Right. Sorry, Manhattan people. We know you're the city, but still, yeah.
Right. The art gallery with the white supremacist paintings,
Oh
sending in terrible
yeah.
paintings, and one of them is a portal. So creepy. Yeah, that was crazy, and it felt all of this just felt so real. Like the idea that these guys knew they had shitty art and just needed a catalyst to accuse them of not allowing
Hmm.
straight white men to post their art.
Yeah.
It absolutely feels like a real thing that could happen right now. Like
Totally.
Proud Boy art group. It was that I found, yeah, a lot of Bronca stuff were my favorite parts. Her first meeting the woman in white in the bathroom,
Hmm.
and then
That was
again,
so weird and creepy.
it was so creepy. And then the art gallery, like the portal painting, was also so creepy. And so I read the book and then I listened to the audiobook, and I so badly want to see it on screen now. I feel like
Hmm.
I end up feeling this way about a lot of different fantasy I read, but this one I really, really would love to see on screen
Hmm.
because the way she describes it all, you just feel like you're in it. And so the whole idea is, if you didn't read the book yet, New York is in trouble, and the other avatars need to get together to join him and help him. so that they can stop this encroaching alien city.
Mm-hmm.
Rila, Ryla. How do you say it? Ryla?
I can't remember how to
It's
pronounce
like
it.
Ryla or something like that. Which is again a city first created by H.P. Lovecraft. So it's almost kind of like a middle finger to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or everything
He
everything
was
is
a
white.
known bigot.
Yeah, yeah. And it's weird because you have this sense of like, well, okay, New York is a place of survival, right? It's a place of fighting to like establish your ground and to like make a mark and all the reasons that people come here to make it. And so it's like really interesting knowing that there's like this alien force that just wants a place where it can exist. Right. It
Mhm.
just wants a place where for it to like be and for it to like take over. And you're like you're presented with this conflict of like, well, what's right? What's actually the right thing? Like, who's right? The people who were here before, the people who are trying to come and establish themselves. It's kind of similar to our whole veil conversation with Maya and the Rising Dark. Like,
Mhm.
what's where, like, you know, what's good and what's not good, and how are you making those judgments? Yeah,
But
because
the thing is,
I could empathize with Mrs. White, even though she's evil. But that's what I liked about her is it was just like, well, I get where you're coming from. However,
but she
there
also
are already
didn't.
people here.
Right, exactly. She didn't just want to come here. She wanted to come
Mm-hmm.
here and also take over and make it her
Mm-hmm.
home,
Yeah.
as in turn it into her home, which is like the almost like practically what any like gentrifier does. They come to a place that
Mm-hmm.
already has an established culture and they want to turn it into the culture that they came
Yeah,
from.
exactly.
And, and it's like, well, no, but we were here and we have the things that we do here. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
in Harlem, there's this neighborhood where the ice cream truck comes at like 9 o'clock, and everybody knows the ice cream truck comes at like 9 o'clock. And this woman had moved nearby and started calling the police every night because of the ice cream truck. And it's like the ice cream truck has always been coming at 9 o'clock. You
Yeah.
can't decide to move here where ice cream truck comes at 9 o'clock and say, well, now you, this one person, no longer
Mm-hmm.
wants the ice cream truck. And to me, that was the woman in white. Like
Yeah.
she wants to come to New York, but she doesn't want to be a part of New York. She wants to change it into what her home was
Mm-hmm.
and just bring her home with her.
Right. And I feel like that's a big part of the struggle of learning how to live here. Is like,
Hmm.
well, are you coming and you're going to be to figure out like what the culture is and how to like be a part of it, or are you going to try to change it completely to make yourself more comfortable? And I feel like if that's the reason why you're coming here, then you should probably just go the fuck back home.
Like I remember when I first moved to my neighborhood, the first neighborhood I lived in, I remember thinking to myself, okay, this is a place that has 8 a.m. bachata. All
Yeah.
right. And then it's like, all right, that's either I have to get used to it or move somewhere else.
Exactly. It's like
And
across the street from me, there's the White Castle, and there's the guys who come out and just hang out in the parking lot and they blast really bad music. And sometimes it's really good, but it's, you know, the
mostly
stereo
bad.
systems never are what they should be for, you know, the volume at which they're blasting it. But I knew that. I knew when I took this place, like, this is a part of the neighborhood, and that's just a part of the appeal. And I like it. I
Right.
like it.
Yeah. I do love this city, as crazy as it
Hmm.
can be.
Me too. So much love for the city. It's my New York anniversary actually this month.
Mine too.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to 14 years.
I think it's 17.
I cannot believe I've been here that long.
Mm-mm. Yeah, everybody just comes like, I'm just gonna come here and go to school, and then you never, and then you never
And then
leave.
you never leave, yeah. And then next thing you know, you're starting a family, and well, now I have a little Harlem kid.
Mm-hmm. Word. What else should we talk
Anyway,
about?
back to the story. Um,
Ooh, can we talk about Manhattan's love for the main avatar?
yeah, he's kind of obsessed, right? A
A
little
little
bit,
bit. A little
a
bit.
little
He
in love with him.
a little in love, a little obsessed, very protective, and I suppose like
Very protective.
as the bodyguard for the city, there is that. But Tanya and I were talking before we started about how N.K. Jemisin like is able to weave themes of sexuality in there without putting it like right in your face, and like she does it so subtly, and it feels just so natural and organic, and
Mhm.
I really appreciate that because she's got like non-cis and hetero characters who are throughout all of her writing, and find just makes it a more realistic, you know, ecosystem.
Well, it definitely makes it seem like a real New York being represented when you have
Mm-hmm.
characters that are all just completely different backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
instead of, a lot of media they show New York and it's like
All light.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
You get
like
Friends or you get Sex in the City. Which version of New York do you fit in? And that's not what it's like at all. I mean, it
and
can
then
be,
there's
but
Girls. People complained about Girls. I never watched it, but I know
me
people
neither.
complained about that there weren't even like people of color in the background.
Oh my God.
I never watched it, so I can't even say, but yeah, it's often a complaint about things based in New York that don't actually represent what New York looks like. And I think she did a really good job of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, showing what New York really looks like. One thing I thought was really, really cool, finding out that places that were like old New York were safe havens. So like Queens's apartment building was a safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn's brownstone, but not the part that she renovated in the front.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
The
I did
part that
really like
lost the
that
stoop.
too.
The
Yeah.
part without the stoop was not a safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really, really cool because for someone like Manny, he has no idea what these oh, also I guess for Queens, that she
Mm-hmm.
lives in an old building. Well, I mean Queens in general has kind of held on more to like the old New York. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how else to describe it. Um But
And
yeah,
it,
I really liked that. I thought that was a kind of cool thing to throw in.
yeah, I think it's a good nod because you'll hear if you like we've both lived here a long time, but hearing native New Yorkers talk about like what's different and how
Yeah.
much the city has changed, and for her to, just assign like special powers to those places to create places of power that are them was like super cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And you're right. Like I think about the things that have changed just since I've been here
Mm-hmm.
and you know, obviously so much has changed from far before I even got here. And so hearing about in the story, knowing that these places are like the safe home base,
Yeah.
that was a really cool touch, I thought.
I was just thinking about like how everybody like first encountered their abilities or their powers or came into contact with it. And
Mhm.
there's also different ways. It's like I'm thinking about Padmini just watching the thing lurk right in the pool and how she's got to run to save her neighbors. And oh,
Uh-huh.
so scary. And like or knowing that that even though the Avatar like what won barely the battle of the FDR, that him luring the creature there was the reason it was able to spread as far and as fast as it did, because it was like little tentacles and tendrils on the on
Mhm.
everybody's car driving to all parts of the city. um, yeah.
It creeped me out every time they would describe like the tendrils on like the old lady's
Oh my
ankles
god, yes, or out of
or
the
like
back of
someone's
someone's
neck.
neck.
Yeah, it creeped me out really bad. Like,
Yeah.
and then like the weird tentacle spider things that attacked Brooklyn's brownstone.
Mm-hmm. That was scary. I remember reading that and thinking that I don't want to see this represented in film.
Yeah, I hate spiders. Tentacles. I do wonder what will happen in the next book. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are we gonna get like some kind of Cthulhu type monster?
No.
Because Staten Island, should I not do spoilers?
I don't. I guess what's our rule? We don't do spoilers.
Yeah, I guess we won't do.
We guess we don't do spoilers. Um, I wish she'd gotten on the ferry. I really do,
Yeah.
because there was that moment of hope where you just knew, like this is it, this is it, and then
Oh,
out of nowhere, here's Mrs. White.
and then that disgusting guy that her dad brought over,
Oh
the
my
like
god.
neo-Nazi guy who basically whipped his dick out at her, and
Yo, the worst.
sexually harassed her in her own home. I thought that was what
Mm,
was gonna make her turn
me
and
too.
go to the city
Me too.
because she was so offended.
It's like look at all these things that you're so afraid of, and that you're being told will happen to you out there, but they're happening in your literal
In your
backyard.
house, your father
Yeah.
brought it to you.
Hmm.
And her dad loved that guy. And I
Yeah.
kept
You.
I kept wondering, I kept wondering about that guy too because I was like, does he just have a tentacle and or is or because I wasn't the when I first read it, I wasn't sure if he was just someone who'd been touched by tentacles
Hmm.
or if he was someone like the lady in white who's from her city.
Right, right. I got the vibe that he was like an agent of hers,
Yeah, that I
meant to
couldn't
come to the
tell. I
house.
thought he was an agent of hers. Yes,
So
H.P.
it says
Lovecraft.
that, yeah, looked up. I looked up that name. The lady in white gave herself, and it is
Riley.
HBO. Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely H.P. Lovecraft. It's the city where Cthulhu, the lost city where Cthulhu lives.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he just had tentacles or if he was an agent of hers because I couldn't understand why an agent of hers would want to offend her. But then also maybe this guy is just also just like that.
I think he's possibly just like that, and also like we might think, like in our minds, that his actions and stuff would be enough to make us rebel. But if you're so sheltered and stuff, it has to have the opposite effect of making you turn inward and trying more to, like, just this is where I belong. I shouldn't go anywhere because at least I know that I'm safe here. And it seems like that's the reaction that she actually had.
So the art guys, I feel like some of them just had tentacles, but some of them were agents, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So maybe he was like one of those. I thought he was just like that, same as her dad. Yeah, her dad, yeah, just like her
Hmm.
dad, really. I guess is when that seems like why her dad liked him so much, but it's like
Yeah, a younger
maybe
version of her dad.
yeah, and then he had the same okay, so what made me think he was an agent too was that he had the name of the baby they lost.
Right.
And I'm like, if they would know that about him somehow, and they chose that on purpose.
Hmm.
What was the name again? Connor or something? I don't remember.
Colin or Connor or something. But yeah. I think
Something
it was.
super
I think it.
Irish.
I think it was Colin because I remember thinking, "Oh yeah, that's what my parents said that they were going to name me if I was a boy."
Something super Irish.
Super Irish, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. Forgot they lost a child. Yeah, yeah,
Yep. And it was,
yeah.
and they don't know if it was a boy or a girl, but the father just somehow in his
Assumed.
mind
Just
knows it
as
was the son he was meant to have this whole time.
so when the people show up to again, she kicks them out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in her case, it's this ambiguous guy, Paolo, who she doesn't, with a weird accent guy.
Hmm.
Oops, I banged my mic. Um, an older black woman who she doesn't know.
Hmm.
The East Asian woman who's also weird accent. It's like all the things she's already
Yeah, all the
terrified of.
things that she's been programmed to be afraid of. And yeah, we see the way that she reacts to black people, like when she's trying to go to the ferry to get on the
Uh-huh.
ferry, and she like
Someone like
freaks
brushed
out.
against her and she lost her
She
mind.
had a
And it's
whole
like,
full blown fucking panic attack.
yeah, and it's just somebody minding his own business. So like them showing up and being brown and accented,
Hmm.
you know,
At night in your city.
and after this guy has just, assaulted you in your backyard.
Yeah.
And she's so powerful and doesn't even know. She doesn't even know the damage she did to
So
Paolo.
powerful. And that's what's crazy. That's why I want to know or see more of her, because like what happens? Is she just left in her island to, like, be a little center of power forever and ever, and just like they're growing strong? Or does she at some point, I mean, I like that those questions are never answered either, right? That's not resolved, like what happens to
Hmm.
Staten Island. I guess it's better that way because I feel like people always over explain stuff, and I
Yeah,
don't
you
like
don't
that
want it to
either.
be over explained. And there needs to be some story left to tell for the next book because it's obviously
Hmm.
not done.
Yeah. This is
Because
going to be, I think it's going to be a trilogy, right? The Great Cities
I
trilogy.
think so.
And it's the next book we're in Paris.
That would be really interesting. To see some of the old cities
Mm-hmm.
because we only met Paolo, which isn't as old, um, and Hong Kong, which is much
Mm-hmm.
older, but
Yeah.
not as old as the old, because they looked at those two as like younger cities.
Right, because it's the responsibility of every new city to help the birth of the city that comes after it. So they're all still pretty young.
Do they go to her or does she go after them? Does who go to who?
I think Staten Island. I
But
want to know what happened to London. Yo, that's true. We never do find
yeah,
out
we
what
don't
happened to
find out.
London.
We
They
just
just
know
allude
that
to
one
it.
devoured their other avatars because they were
Yeah.
worried about New York eating them.
Yeah.
I've never been to London. Surprisingly, I have family there. You'd think I'd go visit, but I've never
Mm,
been. One day, one
go in
day,
the summertime.
yeah.
Go in the
So
summer.
yeah, London devoured their borough avatars. Or at least that's how it's described, but nobody says exactly what happened. So maybe we'll
Hmm.
find out what happened in the next one because
Hmm.
the New York boroughs lived.
They were just fine. I don't know why that just all of a sudden made me crave like Popeye's French fries. I was like, yeah, burros, food.
You
Um,
know that I'm very impressionable right now. Don't say stuff like
uh,
that because I will absolutely go right
yeah.
now.
Um, yeah. Is there anything that's like stuck out to you or was weird to you or that you were just like, oh my God, I can't believe this?
Not really. Nothing comes to mind. I think I think for me the biggest, not really shock, but the biggest surprise was when the woman in white said her name
Mm-hmm.
and it was the HP Lovecraft city
Yeah.
because even though it was like I could tell it was like Lovecraft influenced by like all the tentacle stuff.
Right.
I didn't expect that direct Lovecraft reference to come out, and it made me go back and read the Call of Cthulhu because I was like, oh shit. But there's it's easier just to read the Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
I I like the synopsis more than the actual reading of it.
Yeah. I liked the expression of people's superpowers, right? Like
Mhm.
Manhattan, it was like throwing the money and the credit cards and the things that the
Which
borough is
still
known
makes
for.
sense.
And Brooklyn, it was her spitting. And I forgot what it was for Queens. What was her super prevention thing?
Math.
Math.
She like did all these calculations and they helped her.
Right, 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 right. Oh, I like that too.
I
So
loved
good.
that Brooklyn was just rapping.
It's
I
so
just thought that
dope.
was so cool.
So
And then
dope.
and when she shows up to save Manhattan in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning,
Mm-hmm.
was she playing Cool Herc?
I think so. I think
Who's
so.
who's like,
Yeah.
godfather of
Hip
like
hop.
father of hip hop,
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, by the way, to hip hop. That party was very
Hmm.
recently the anniversary of that party was
Yeah.
pretty recent.
He was like a week. Was it last weekend?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
But
Happy
so yeah,
birthday.
I think that's what she was playing when she showed up. Like that was all those kinds of things I just thought were really cool.
Yeah.
Um, what other superpower? Bronca with the steel-toed boots
Yes.
because she kicked that guy's ass that time.
Mm-hmm. I was ready for. I was like loved her just ability to just stand on her own and defend whatever she wanted. And then
Yeah.
there's
And
her friend
the
Vanessa.
the Timberland joke is the New York Timberland joke was perfect. That
Yes.
maybe she didn't want to directly call them Timberlands, but it was like
We know.
Bronca and her Tims, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What would you say about Vanessa?
I was just saying that Vanessa, just being there kind of throughout the thing and, you know, becoming it's becoming her avatar and Jersey City. That's just like 'cause you don't expect it, and I feel like if
No,
you're from here, I would be very curious to get somebody's opinion who lives like I want somebody from like a native New Yorker to read this book and then also someone from Jersey City to read it and
and
kind
see
of
how they
be like
feel.
see how they feel.
I want
Yeah.
to know what someone from Staten Island thinks.
Right? That's just like it's so crazy because the thing is like you go to Staten Island and it's not like here. Or I'm in Brooklyn, but it's not like here. You know, it's just single lots of single. I mean, they've got projects and stuff, obviously, Wu Tang, but it's like residential very much and single family
There are
houses and
houses
and
and
just like
cars.
neighborhoods and much like they're very close communities. And all of the times that I've spent out there, I've definitely found myself being more cautious than I would like walking around Brooklyn. I'm like much more aware that I'm not from there than I am in other parts of the city. Um,
So I haven't been to Staten Island since my first year in New York because I briefly worked at an office that had uh they had an office in by Battery Park.
Sorry, I'm sorry. If
Huh?
Samir says I'll take Jersey City over Staten Island any day, and it was weird being confronted with that.
I think that
For
well, I think that's
real.
well, that's what I was
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. Like I when I had to go there for work, the office was literally walking distance from the ferry station.
Hmm.
So I would just take the ferry from Battery Park and then go to the office. And I never explored really any parts of Staten Island.
Hmm.
And then once I didn't work there anymore, I just really never went back. And I've had friends who lived on Staten Island, but like I just never had a reason to go back. But
Yeah.
Jersey, like I would end up in Jersey randomly all the time. I also hardly ever go to Queens because I get so confused when you see 59th Street, 59th Ave, 59th Lane,
Road,
59th
59th
Place,
Road,
59th
59th
Road.
Drive.
And
Yeah,
I'm like, what
there's
the
a rhythm. There's actually a logic to it. It took me living in Queens because I lived in the first 5 years I was in New York. I lived in Queens, and it took a little bit of navigating to be able to. Okay, I understand. Like, okay, I'm on the avenue, and after the avenue comes, this is wrong because I don't remember, but it was like the avenue, and then comes the drive, and then there comes a road, and then there comes a da 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 da. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's so weird. And I live on the border of Brooklyn and Queens now. So if I walk this way, I'm in Queens. If I walk this way, I'm in Brooklyn.
Yeah, see,
And it's
I'm
not
in East
logical.
I'm in Harlem. I'm in East Harlem, and it's like numbers. The numbers are going up, I'm heading north. The numbers are
Hmm.
going down, I'm heading south. And
Yeah.
I know what the avenues are. So
Hmm.
like I can't get and I've lived in East Harlem with the exception of 6 months when I lived in the financial district, which I hated by the way, do not recommend, don't live down there. I have lived in East Harlem the entire time,
Hmm.
almost in the same zip code. I've been in the same zip code for 13 years.
Yeah. It's
Even
fun.
though I moved within the same zip code. And so like I know how to get around. And then once it's time for me to go anywhere else, I'm like, ugh.
That's what it's like. I mean, you get comfortable in your burrows and you don't really want to leave. And like in that sense, I can relate to Staten Island a little bit.
Hmm.
Like wanting to stay close to home and stuff. But it's just like seems like such a shame to know that there's this amazing city right across the water, and there are
Right.
free ferries. You can go anytime, and I feel like the scariest part of that is like wondering whether or not the ferry is going to sink as you like round the Statue of Liberty. But other than that, it's just like it's a safe ride. Have beer, you can get the water. It's yeah, I love that ferry
I
ride.
should go take that ferry ride.
Let's do it.
There's a children's museum somewhere down there. I could take
Hmm.
my kid. He'd love the ferry ride.
I think you would. We should do that after the other baby comes.
Yeah, I'm immobile now. I'm nine
Fair.
months pregnant, guys. I can't move anymore. You can't see it, but I'm like completely Winnie the Poohing it. I'm trying to do this cute support your local library shirt, but it barely goes past my belly button now, so I will stay put.
It's super cute though.
um, yeah, Jersey City joining in to help was that's a spoiler, sorry.
Hmm. Well,
But it was cool. It
it
was
was
really
cool.
you'll still have to experience
You
it.
still have to experience it because like there's nothing, it's I'm gonna switch books. It's like Dalinar saying, "You can't have my pain." It's like a moment of just declaration and surprise and pride, and it just works so well.
Yeah, I did find myself like kind of cheering, like, yes, they're gonna do
Yeah,
it.
it's like Knights Radiance taking their ideals. It was like discovering them. It was
You
great.
know, something that I found also that was, I keep saying interesting, I need a new word. But when Manny, so Manny, remember Manny isn't his name. His name
Mm-hmm.
is they just call him that because Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to his wallet for something and doesn't look at his ID.
Yes. Yeah, in that moment where he decided that he was going to keep his identity secret because the things that kept coming through that he remembered that he was probably not a good person.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even Bell says that. He's like, when I spoke to you on the phone, I thought that, you were going to be like this or that. You kind of had like this tough guy, like maybe, I don't know, maybe
And
slightly
remember,
homophobic
right?
vibes.
And he was gonna be transphobic. Remember,
Yeah.
he thought he was faking losing his memory to get out of living
Yeah.
with a trans guy.
Right, 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 right.
So yeah, that was. I guess that'll probably be explored in the next
Hmm.
one. Find out who he is really,
That would be awesome. Who is Manny?
because he could have just looked at his ID and he just really refused to.
Mm-hmm.
And no one
Mm-hmm.
else lost their identity.
No one else did. What does that say for moving into Manhattan?
Have I lost my identity? Am I not a Boston girl anymore? I honestly can't even. I was never even an adult in Boston. I can't even find my way around there anymore.
The world is a confusing ass city.
It really is. It's like driving through Queens.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on,
Ooh, yes.
we're switching it up a little bit, going back in time a little. Uh Neil Gaiman, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I can't find my hard copy of, but I do have an ebook, so I can't hold it up for you like I usually do.
Oh, it's such a good book.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
such an
really great read.
it's so unexpected where it goes. You feel like you're just reading a normal novel and then all of a sudden everything flips.
Hmm.
And you're just like, what the hell is happening? It's so good. Kind of scary. We're doing it it's our spooky season read.
Right, so we're gonna do that late September. I think the date we picked was September 26th. By
Yeah.
then, my infant should be sturdy enough for me to leave him for an hour to do a stream. So
No.
September 26th, God willing, nobody gets sick or nothing happens. But yeah, Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman will be the next one.
Oh, put it in the
So this
chat.
comment, okay, I just saw this comment. Might be breaking from the fantasy in a way. Oh, this is in response to Manny not checking his
Mm-hmm.
ID. It's easier to accept that you're the supernatural city avatar with no memory of who you are. Reading his true name breaks the illusion. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true because he's done this good thing, and remember, like Nikki mentioned, he's been remembering only bad things and remembering himself as a bad guy, but now he's done all these good things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, a lot of people, they move to New York and they reinvent themselves.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, you get to come to New York and be whoever you want, whatever that
Yeah.
means.
Some people, like, they move to New York, they come out for the first time, they get like into arts that they weren't into,
Mm-hmm.
or like all these things. So yeah, he's come here and he's reinvented himself. And you're right, it does break from the fantasy for him if he looks at his real name, because what happens when he looks at his real name, like, are all his old memories going to come back?
Mm-hmm. And I think the part that that happens that was interesting to me is just like the opportunity for him to walk away. Like he knows that all he has to do is leave the borough, and that's
Yeah, he can
and
get right back.
he can just go back to being whoever he was before that. And it's, so if you've ever been here for any period of time, there are moments where you experience that. Like I could just go back to whatever my life was, wherever I came from, and experience that. And you have to make the decision, like, do you have what it takes to continue like surviving and making the sacrifices that come with being in the city? At least for me, because there were many and they were
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
I really like this book a lot. And the audiobook is really good.
The audiobook is really good. The narrator is the voice actor narrator.
Someone had mentioned in the comments about the sound effects used too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna scroll up and see if I see it. And I'll put it on the screen. But I thought the way they did the sound effects and the distortions. Here it is. Um, Yeah, the audio cuts in and out in tunes, and the sound gets distorted during certain parts. Like that was those were really cool
Mm-hmm.
to do for the audiobook. And I think that's part of what made me like want to see it on screen too.
Yeah, it
Is
felt
that,
like New York when you were
and like
listening to it.
and the creepy robot type distortions that kept happening when like, the woman in white's talking or other things are happening.
Yeah, when it happened in the intro, I had to rewind it and play it back because I thought
You thought something happened?
I thought it was skipping. I was like, "What is? Oh,
Like, how does this skip? It's a
sound
digital file.
design."
Ah. Yes, the sound design is amazing and I really, really loved it. Um, we'll probably do more NK Jemisin too, because when we first started this, it really was a NK Jemisin stan club. And we were like, we can't only do NK Jemisin books, we need to do other books
Yeah.
too. Because we still want to do Broken Earth.
Oh God, yes. I need to read. I'm like overdue a reread on that, but after Rhythm of War.
Yeah, finish Rhythm of War, please, so we can talk about that too.
Oh, yes, I can't wait.
Is there anything else you want to say about this book?
No, I feel like
Or
you don't need to be a native New Yorker or from here to enjoy it. And like, yes, you might get a little bit more out of it if you've had any time in the city, but that shouldn't keep you from like enjoying this book because the characters, especially Bronca, are just so interesting. They're so interesting. And yeah, yeah. That's all I'll say. It's interesting, and I like anything that's against gentrification and the erasure and replacement or extermination of cultures and peoples. So,
definitely good to be against that.
taking a stance. This is where I this is where I stand. This is where I come in on this issue.
Yeah, this is a one of my friends who's not really into fantasy. She heard me describing this to someone when I was talking about us doing the stream, and it made her want to go and read it. And she's not even like
Mm,
into fantasy. She briefly lived in New York for like a few months, but she's a friend I grew up with.
mm-hmm,
Um, Shalia Monet, if you're into R&B and pop music, she's on YouTube with tons of videos. I'll just put her name in the chat just because
mm-hmm,
why not? I don't have her link on hand. But yes, so even someone who's like not
mm-hmm.
super into fantasy the way we are could still really enjoy
Yeah, I feel like it's a gateway
reading it.
fantasy book. It's like not too much
Yeah.
magic to be like, oh, that's couldn't possibly happen,
Hmm.
and enough realism in it to satisfy people who are like, oh no, there's dragons. No, no dragons in this one,
There's no
guys.
dragons. Just, cities that come alive.
Hmm.
No biggie.
Super awesome.
Kind of makes me want to go back and reread the FDR battle.
Oh, it's so good. I just reread it. So good, so scary. It's just like fighting this monster that only you and certain other people can see. And
Right.
but that everybody else, like even if they couldn't see it, they had a sense of the wrongness.
Yes, and they were swerving around it without knowing really why. And the fact that even when you're recording it, your recording doesn't pick up any of it. It just picks
Hmm.
up, this crazy guy on the surfing a taxi down the FDR and fighting with
Yeah.
an umbrella. Oh yeah, that was the other thing when he tapped that lady with the umbrella
Yes.
and she kind of became slightly a part of it too.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is not the weirdest thing you would probably ever see on the FDR.
yeah.
Like if I saw a man standing on a cab with an umbrella on FDR, I'd be like, oh, par for the course. It's New York.
Right. It's like, oh look at that. It's crazy.
I've definitely seen weirder things on the subway.
Yeah, everybody's relaxing at the beach now, but there's columns up in Staten Island, so
Hmm.
they're not done and they're not safe.
Yep.
It's a bit ominous. And that's
Hmm.
another thing, people they sense it somehow but don't see it.
Yeah.
So everyone knows there's something off right now with Staten Island, but they don't quite know what it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the second one. I have no idea when it's planned to be released or if it's finished or whatever, but I'm looking forward to it a lot. What were you going to say, Nick?
Not related to this book, but as a follow up to Dread Nation,
Mhm.
because we discovered while we were reading this other one that there's a new Dread Nation book out, a
Oh,
novella.
with the short stories.
Yes, with the short stories.
Yes. So
What's it called?
we had mentioned Letters from Home. I have to look it up.
Hmm.
We had mentioned Letters from Home, which originally was not in print. It was just written for the Nightlight podcast. But that's one of the stories in there
Three for
now.
the Road.
Oh, you got it. 3 for the
Yep,
Road.
Three for the Road.
And then it has 2 more short stories in that universe.
Yep.
And they're really good. I like them a lot.
Yep. You get the Letters from Home short, and you get to figure out a little bit, or learn a little more about Catherine's background, and
Hmm.
also
Another girl from Miss Preston's
another Miss Preston's girl. Yeah.
who actually goes out to become um what are they called? Attendant.
Attendant.
Yeah. So you get to you'll experience some other cities and some other characters. And I loved having Catherine's background. That was really
Oh
cool
yeah, that was really
because
great.
she was so mysterious about it.
Hmm.
And then Letters from Home is just a really great story too.
Yeah.
Finding out what's going on in Baltimore after they've left. So yeah, check that out. Read that and then after. Well, I liked reading Letters from Home in between Dread
Death
Nation
and
and
Deathless
Virtue
Divide.
and Deathless Divide.
Hmm.
But I guess it doesn't matter if you read all three
Yeah.
in between or after,
Hmm.
whatever. Just read it. It's good.
It's really good. And it's fast. It's just like basically three short stories.
So we were talking about um, how people can't see the tentacles or the tentacle monsters, but they can kind of experience them. That's why she compared
Hmm.
it to It.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because in It, they kind of grow up and forget that it even happened, which is crazy. That movie's too scary for me. Actually, maybe not. Maybe if now that I know it's going to happen,
Hmm.
I'll watch it again. Maybe it'll induce labor. So we're coming to the end. September 26th, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman.
Hmm.
We'll post this audio up on our podcast. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. A Thousand Eyes in One. You can find us also on social media. Wine on an Empty Stomach on Instagram. That's all book club stuff. If you want to check out our other things, especially our Game of Thrones related chats, A Thousand Eyes in One on Instagram, A Thousand Eyes in One on Facebook, and Thousand Eyes One on Twitter. And if you're on Instagram, you're talking to Nikki, and if you're on Twitter, you're talking to me. And if we're on Facebook, it's a toss up. It could really be either one of us.
You never know.
But join us, join us. We're gonna eventually cover some more throne stuff. I've thought about doing a whole Jorah Mormont hate episode, but
Mm.
we try to avoid hate episodes. But
Even when they're well deserved.
even when they're well deserved,
Hashtag season 8.
Twitter suspended me for promoting violence because of my tweets about Jorah Mormont. So
Yeah,
you know,
it's
fuck that
unfortunate.
guy. I was right. I'm like, why are you booing me? I'm right.
Hmm.
Um,
Traitor, amongst other things.
links to everything goes on thousandeyespodcast.com. So, you can find links to our social media. You can find links to old episodes and whatever we're doing. But really, on social media is the best way to follow up.
Hmm.
Um, so check us out. And yes, Jorah does deserve all
He
the hate
deserves
that I
all the
sent his
hate,
way.
every last fucking ounce of it.
Kissing his 14-year-old queen against her will. See, thank you. Setting her up to
Hmm.
be assassinated. Okay, don't even get me started because
I
we'll be here
mean,
for
yeah.
hours. But anyway, Twitter made me delete my tweets or else I couldn't have my account back.
Hmm.
But I was right. I stand by it. Anyway, Ocean at the End of the Lane, September 26th. We'll be back here. Subscribe and everything. And
Mounts an insurrection, but you can't talk shit about Jorah.
do not get me started.
Unbelievable. Okay, I'm done.
All right. So thanks for joining us today, guys. And we'll see you next month. Bye bye.
Bye.